It's the same thing, brother.
We're not
It's the same thing.
Go into the light side. Go in the light side. Hey, Jordan, you're over there, bro.
I don't know.
Get in there, mate. You're gonna have a. He's an ex-Muslim.
Ex-Muslim.
He's an ex-Muslim.
What's your name?
Attic. Content over everything.
Attic.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Attic, man.
No, not attic.
Yeah.
Attic.
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 So where were you from?
Bangladesh. Originally from Bangladesh. Yeah.
So you were born a Muslim,
Yeah.
and when did you stop believing or
It's a
practicing?
long time
or did
ago,
you ever
Talk a bit
practice?
louder.
Yeah, I have. I went to do the pilgrimage in Saudi
Can't hear you, man.
when I was 10
Did
years old.
Hajj?
Yeah.
Do you want to come closer? Who's saying that?
I'm gonna come around that side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're Bangladeshi,
Yeah.
and what age did you stop practicing? Or did you pray and things like that?
I did a long time ago. I did, and obviously, when you pray, you think, yeah, God is there with you. But obviously, down the line, He was never there.
You believe he was never there?
Yeah, He was never there.
Did you find another explanation for God? Or
I have.
Talk a bit louder.
Yeah, bro.
My guy here trying to be famous.
When I was like, I was
Famous what? We more famous.
all about
What are you on about, bro?
people believe in Jesus, look up to Him, but there's nothing happening.
God never answered your dreams.
Yeah.
And now you don't believe in it.
Well, it's not about my dreams, It's about humanity.
So what are you now? Are you, you don't believe there is a God?
No.
Did something bad happen in your life?
Not really, not yet.
Science.
So what were you asking for?
I'm asking for, there is no God. When you die, there's nothing.
But you
There's
said
no
he wasn't answering you.
Yeah.
Were you asking him anything? Or
Well,
because it sounds normally.
So you're standing between the mic.
yeah.
So we can get it on there as well. Yeah, just there. Just there. And you're on camera as well. And you're on this camera.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't forget times manager, man. We're gonna.
Yeah. So I was saying that you were.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
We're saying it never answered my...
Yeah. So you said when you were 19.
Yeah.
Allah never answered your call. What were you asking?
Well, I was asking for, better life for all the humanities. Basically, now you see in Syria and all the Muslim countries, Palestine and this and that.
Yeah. So you believe the suffering around the world
Yeah.
proves there's no God.
There's no God. And the thing is, the religion is there. That's because of that, all the oppression is going on. If there was no religion, it was never going to happen.
So you hold Islam partly responsible.
Well, all the religion, not just Islam.
okay.
Islam as well, they're a big part of the family. All the religion, they hold some kind of accountability for that reason.
You got
You know what I'm saying?
ones and two twos.
So you, it'd be interesting. So your core belief was that there's suffering in the world.
Yeah.
So therefore, there can't be a God. God wouldn't allow this to go on.
Yeah, of course. Imagine you being a human being, yeah? Would you let your kids to die in a place there's war going on? Would you let your kids to die? You will try to save them, wouldn't you?
Of course.
So you answer me now. You answer me now. If there was a God,
Yeah.
would He let, or he or she, I don't know what he is, people believe in, would they let these people die?
Yeah. Look, I think it's hard to
Answer.
No. Yeah. It's a very, very common reason for people leaving religion, isn't it? That they've had a bad thing, someone's died,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Well, nothing happened to me, but I
Yeah.
saw people, they're suffering from people dying in Africa without any food. Rich people getting richer, the powerful people getting more powerful, and people who doesn't have nothing, they're getting...
And it's hard to put this into context,
Perspective,
but if a child dies, for instance,
Yeah.
a Muslim believes that person's got guaranteed paradise.
Yeah.
So therefore, you didn't believe in heaven either.
No, man, Heaven
That's
is
something different, isn't it?
Heaven, it's in this country. You have money, you have heaven in here.
That's what you believe,
Yeah. If you have money, you have power. You can. You're seeing these things. Yeah. You live your life. Yeah. You live your life.
So it wasn't just a suffering, because obviously you don't believe in heaven or hell either. So your belief completely.
Yeah, I'm in hell, man.
So can I ask, do you drink?
Yeah, but
smoke?
I'm a little bit drunk right now.
Yeah.
I mean?
So when you were 19, is that sort of university age? You were having
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
so,
having fun. And now
Islam says you can't do that. that.
Oh man, so
it
it's
gets
not
harder,
just Islam.
It gets harder. Yeah, no, not
Christian,
Islam.
all the religions.
Okay,
are not
the reason
not
why
really-
I'll expose myself. The reason why I am talking about Islam is because I'm a Muslim.
Yeah.
So I've chosen Islam, whereas you've left Islam. So it's an interesting, interesting chat, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So
Why do you?
so for me, I've done all you've done. I've drunk, seen lots of women, done
Yeah.
drugs and things like that. And where does that, you know, where did that get me in my time? So,
him to Islam.
so yeah, so for me, I think obviously for society to work, there needs to be rules and guidance in place. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, there is.
It shouldn't just be
For that, yeah.
common law.
Yeah,
common law.
For that
yeah,
you
yeah.
have law. You have law.
Common law changes over time, and as does morality. But
Yeah.
and where it's evolving to, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part
So
of it.
which law is the best then? Which law is the best according to you?
The Allah,
Allah law is the best.
of course, the
Yeah, but
guy who
Allah
created
say
everything.
Muslim is the best human being on this planet, right?
That's a different question.
That,
That
afterwards,
is a different question. That is a different. Not
Right?
really.
Yeah, it says.
It's not really a good
It says,
question.
yeah.
That's a very basic question.
It says, yeah.
Very basic question.
We are the best creator, right? And the next
religion, brother.
You have Islam and you have Muslims trying to follow
Yeah.
Islam. We're all human beings.
And the line below us say put a chain around the sort of neck.
Sorry?
The first line say Muslim is the best human on this planet, right?
Who said that?
Don't get too close, bro. Don't get too close.
Who said Muslims are the best people on earth?
It's on the, I'm not sure either the hadith
Oh no,
or the
it's,
Quran, right?
it says that human
Gita as well.
the
The
best
Hindu is the
creature.
best.
Listen.
You're saying a lot, but you're not bringing no proof.
Yeah.
Brother, every
Yeah.
person can be good
It says
or
in the
bad.
Quran. Let me tell you. I've read the Quran a little bit.
Have you read all the hadith?
No, not yet. No, bro, listen. Hadith makes you more confused. You know, hadith makes you confused. Trust me. One.
Just a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, the whole religion thing is confusion, man. Trust me. It's based on it's based on confusion.
Common law, surely
Yeah.
better. Common law that adapts to that.
I follow Islam. What other Muslims are doing is a completely different question.
That's contrary. That's contrary.
But he said the best human being must be a Muslim. That's best human.
Well, if in the probably the concept, if that Muslim is following Islam down to T, then yeah, they are.
And the next line say put a chain around someone's neck.
If you were born in a Christian family, would you be Muslim?
Clearly, that's not a first person.
Have you ever heard that?
That's up to your upbringing, brother. That's up to your upbringing.
What, like
No,
the
that's
Uyghur-
a book.
like the Chinese are doing to the Uyghur
You
Muslims
choose to
now?
follow.
Yeah, but
Putting them in jail. Is that the same
they
thing?
can
How ironic.
Look, if you broke the law in any country, right?
Oh, the Uyghur Muslims broke the law.
To be honest, bro, if you,
So,
according to
wait,
Sharia,
sorry,
yeah, go on.
I mentioned Uyghur Muslims,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he said they're breaking the law.
Yeah.
These people are being imprisoned because they're Muslims. Simply for the fact, simply for the fact that they're Muslim.
No.
Yes? Simply for the fact they're Muslim.
Why are
If
they
they
putting the
mention,
Christians? Why are they putting the Christians in prison?
You know, according to Sharia law,
Why are they putting Christians in prison?
what's that got to do with me?
You just said magically.
If I'm mentioning Muslims being in prison, why are you telling me about Christians? Do you know when any Christians being in prison?
But in China.
In China, yeah.
Would you mind
All right,
taking
so
the conversation into the light?
I'm sorry. That's completely different.
that's a good conversation to start with, isn't it?
The Uyghur Muslims are being persecuted because they're seen as radicalists and they're seen as people that are going to give unrest to the Chinese.
Why is the
It's
Chinese
because of
government
the.
not decided to do that with Christians then, with Christian groups? Have they done it? Do they do? I don't
I don't
What's
know.
it?
Maybe they
What
do.
is that? But you're saying-
That's got nothing to do
The
with
Chinese
me,
government
though.
wouldn't magically decide, just randomly
Wait,
say,
you're
oh,
making
Muslims-
you're making presumptions. You don't have no. I never made any presumption.
You made a
I never made any
presumption.
presumption. No.
You made a
Everything I've said is
that
a
the Chinese
fact.
government have only
Uyghur
put
Muslims,
only put
Uyghur Muslims, yes.
in prison.
No,
But why?
what are you talking about? No,
Why?
stop.
The
Stop.
presumption you make
Listen,
One at a time.
don't build up a straw man and beat it to death. I never said. No. Stop. I never said the Chinese government are only putting Uyghur Muslims in jail. That's not what I
Well,
said.
asked you about Christians.
That's not
You
what I
don't like
said.
it.
I don't.
Are they doing it to Christians?
Forget
Why
Christians.
are the Muslims-
I mentioned in the point.
Yeah, but the Chinese
So it's
government, they're not
listen,
stupid.
brother.
Why would they do that? They're not stupid. Why
Stop
would they? He mentioned it. Why would they do that?
making presumptions. If I come out and say Uyghur Muslims are being jailed, yeah, and I've got facts to say that they're being jailed, don't ask me about Christians. I'm not talking about Christians. If you want to talk about Christians, if you want to talk about, I'm not asking. I'm stating a fact.
I'm asking too.
I'm stating a fact.
you
I know.
put
I never
someone
asked.
in
I'm
prison-
stating a fact. They
Okay,
are
so
being in
what's the
prison.
reason? Why-
They
why-
are being in
why
prison
have-
because of their Islam. Because of their Islam, they are being taught not to be Muslims. They are being taught
But what is it in
anti-Islamic
Islam
rhetoric.
that the Chinese government aren't liking?
Everything.
What is it that-
Everything.
Why aren't they choosing that? Why
Everything.
aren't they doing that with Christians?
You go and ask the Chinese. That's got nothing to do with me.
Do you have an insight?
That's got nothing to
Do
do
you have
with
an
me.
insight?
The insight
It
is
can't be
the
just
insight.
because
No,
there's
no.
something.
You are making
Because they would do it
you
to
are making a
Christians as well.
presumption that you don't. No, that's
No,
not
no, I'm
true.
not saying Christians.
That's
It's
not
logic,
true.
it's
Because there's
logic.
no, it's
I
not. It's not
said
logic.
China, yeah.
It's not logic.
Why
There's
are they
not.
doing it to
There's a
Christians?
there's a lot.
What are they seeing
There is a
Muslim
Buddhist. There
community
is a
there?
Buddhist population. There is a Hindu population and there's other Jainish smaller groups. Just because they're doing something to Muslims doesn't necessitate that they're going to do it to every other religious
they're
group.
not just
And
randomly.
listen, stop
They're
talking
not
rubbish.
randomly-
Stop
Chinese
talking rubbish.
government aren't gonna
Slobodan
randomly just pick on one group.
Slobodan Milosevic, when he was killing Muslims, he wasn't killing Christians too. He targeted Muslims for a reason,
Yeah,
right?
what's the reason?
Genocide. He blamed
The
everything.
reason was just,
he
genocide
blamed,
is the act.
He
What was
blamed
the reason?
he blamed everything on the Muslims. They were the scapegoat ethnic group within the country that were given that everything
but
was
the Chinese
blamed.
aren't killing Muslims, but you said they're
Brother, I
putting
said
them
they're
in
putting
camps.
them in camps and they
Okay.
are right.
So
Why is the main
what is
reason?
it? What is the reason?
And I just told you they're
You
Islam.
haven't. You've said
I've told you because they're
but
Muslim.
there must be a reason behind their
If
Islam.
you
What
do-
they're doing.
if you
Tell
tell
me
Brother.
about that.
yeah,
There must be
they
something.
will put you in prison.
Regardless of whether there's something or not, they are putting Uyghur Muslims in jail
Why?
by the number.
He said that.
Right. So if you have something, and I'm telling you, it's because of the Islam. They do not like the fact that they are Muslim
Okay, so
and
what is it in
Chinese.
Islam that they don't like?
This
What
is,
are they
I think that's
seeing
quite a
that they
scary
don't
question
like?
because it's almost like
He's
you
chatting
are.
shit.
It's almost
I'm
like
sorry,
you-
you're chatting shit.
I'm
You're chatting
asking a
shit, mate.
You're almost
You're
trying to
chatting
say they've got a
I've
point.
clearly stated.
Well, no, they might have a point. That's what I'm trying to get.
So do
He
you have an
doesn't want
inkling
it.
then?
No, that's what
No,
I'm
no.
saying. What are
If
they
you
saying?
have
If
something,
the Chinese-
bring it.
Yeah,
If you have
Do you know
information,
what
me
the
talk then.
Uyghur
Talk.
Let me talk. Let me
Stop
talk.
You know
asking
what they
questions
do
and talk.
in
Well, you
China?
Hang on,
Do
guys.
you know what they do?
Okay, so if the Chinese government
you know
are
what they do
putting
in-
certain
it's
It's like
Muslim
someone
groups
saying, why
into-
did Hitler round up
There's
the
not
Jews?
certain Muslim groups.
Okay, then,
brother.
and you're
I'm
trying to
saying
say
they are
that
rounding
maybe
up
there's a point.
Muslims
All
as
Muslims.
a
All Muslims.
general
imagine,
thing.
right?
Men, women,
If
children
the Chinese
are putting
people,
them
yeah,
in jail
was slaughtered
because of the
off
fact
street
that they
people,
are
yeah?
Muslim.
Like
It's their
10
Islam that's the
Oxford
crime.
Street in just
So, but what is it?
but
What is it
What will you do as
about
a
their
Prime
Islam
Minister?
that the Chinese government is going to make the effort to
Yeah.
round up
Okay, let me
Muslims?
ask you a question. Yeah, it's documented.
Will
yeah,
you
that
jail
in previous in certain provinces
20
of China,
people?
they
Would I kill 20 people?
prevented
No.
school
No, will you
children
jail
from
them?
fasting.
Will you put them
from
in jail or
fasting
not?
Ramadan? Chinese. It is
Exactly.
seen as
You
being
got
radical.
you are. What in?
Right. Just
Why are
by
they putting
just by
them in
fasting.
In China, they were stopping school children from fasting. Is that true?
For that, I'm not 100%.
We can quickly Google these things.
For that, I cannot say, but they will stop. They will try going to the mosque. That I could verify.
They will
yeah.
stop going to-
But not. I mean, try.
What was the reason why they were stopped from going to the mosque?
For that, basically, is they want to. Well, I mean,
What's going on there?
I don't know.
Is it because they want everyone to fall into the Chinese communist stylish style of being a Chinese citizen?
I think that's probably
Right. So I'm not stating the random Uyghur Muslims for no reason. They did
Yeah,
that.
but do you know what the Uyghur do? I mean, they crash on cars into buildings. It's on YouTube. Don't tell me what.
Is that happening
Fair
in China?
enough.
Is that
If
happening?
you're
Right? If
fair
I
enough.
say,
If you're saying that, if you're
could you
saying,
stop
yeah,
someone,
if you're saying,
will
if-
you put bars or not?
fair enough. If
Don't
I'm
tell me you
fair
don't
enough.
play
If I'm committing a crime, yeah, and I'm caught committing a crime, by all means punish me to the full extent of the law. I'm talking about if for example, if my brother commits a crime, yeah, it's not legal for you to round me up, my sister up, my young children up, and put them in jail because of the action of my brother, and that they are indiscriminately being locked up.
That's not true. That's not true.
Huh? The law of the land. Yeah. Where is Sharia land? Does it exist? Does it exist? Sharia land. Inshallah, soon. Yes, yeah, soon.
What is so good about Sharia? You tell me.
Okay, so my standpoint about Sharia is that Sharia is the legislation of God. Now, in my belief, yeah, the best person to legislate laws for human beings is the one who created them.
So
He knows their ins and outs.
So this believer are second class citizen, right?
According to who?
Radicalisation, holy book.
According to what verse?
I used to like bacon sandwiches.
They don't believe us.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Turkey
The
bacon.
prophet moved it. The prophet.
Basically, we are the low-life scum.
Come on, man. The prophet, peace be upon him, moved into kind of.
I watch on YouTube, yeah, there's a lot of your guys.
Please
say,
allow me
yeah,
to. Who's my guys?
Muslim guys. They're your brothers.
Come on, man. Stop it. Stop it.
Like Amjad
Brother,
Chowdhury, yeah?
if
He's your brother, right?
listen,
Is Amjad Chowdhury your brother or not?
is Andrew Chowdhury my brother?
Yeah.
He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
I wouldn't class him to be my brother.
No,
I'd love to know your opinion on the China
I've
incident. Then, 'cause
Which China incident?
with obviously what they're doing to the Muslims. Because why are you not saying this is a terrible thing? You're sort of saying, well, there must be a reason.
No, because
It's a weird. I've never.
I can't give you the answer that you
It's,
want me
it's
to
hard
give.
for me
If
to
you
like
step
have
out of
this.
line, you put in jail.
You step out of line. What, being a Muslim?
No.
Yeah.
Is that to you stepping out of line?
He said you stopped them from going to the mosque. Just from going to the mosque.
Do you know
Okay,
there's
no,
mosques
look,
in
You asked my
Beijing?
personal
Do you know
opinion. I've
that?
got no
Google
problem with
it.
Muslims
I'm
praying.
not
It doesn't
saying-
seem that
I'm
way.
sure there
The
is.
question,
Why are
the
they
question's
not
scary.
banned the
Question's
mosque
scary.
then? You
You
tell
haven't
me.
asked me.
I don't know,
You
but
haven't
have they
asked
put
me.
by your
have they
I
put
haven't asked you
restrictions on them? I'm
You,
sure
no,
they
you
put
did.
restrictions
Your
on them.
question was, there must be. Why are China doing it to the Muslims? What sort of question is that?
If you don't step on lines, people wouldn't put in jail.
Step out of line. Who's stepping out of line?
Like Amjad Chowdhury.
Anjan
Andrew
Chowdhury's not in
Chowdhury's
China.
gonna-
The thing is, as
Guys,
Muslims,
Why don't the British government lock up Andrew Chowdhury? Why do they allow him to spew hate?
you don't go in.
No, he's free now, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
you step
so-
on
so
lines,
how
people,
how
should he
come?
not be free? Should he not be free? He's done some time.
I'm saying if his crimes are so bad, then he should have been locked up for longer than.
Well, he hasn't killed anyone himself, has he?
Okay, but his rhetoric has that caused people to kill people?
Yeah.
Has he incited people to kill people?
Possibly.
Right. So normally the people who devise plots to murder, kill, and steal are the people who get the most or should get the most time.
Well, I
in
don't
my
know that
opinion.
he's divided. I don't know much about what he says. So I
I'm
can't
saying
say that he's
the
divided.
stuff that he says or had said in the past. Yeah, if any regular person, Muslim, said it, they would have got picked off
Well, then
already.
what-
I feel they've
what-
left
yeah.
him out there in the thing in order to radicalize people and then say, look, here are the radical Muslims.
Sure, I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's true. But you know, I think that what he said Islam isn't a religion of peace. Islam is a religion of unity, fire, blah blah blah. So he's encouraged the violent side of Islam. He's encouraged
Okay, see, see, that's another thing. See, when people say Islam is peace, that is something. It's a definition. I don't.
It's submission, isn't
I don't. Yeah. I don't subscribe to. Saying Islam is peace is dismissive of the fact that Islam has
years and
a
years ago,
militant.
Muslims used to tell me that Islam meant peace, but it actually means submission. So you
It means
get peace.
submission. No, I'm saying peace. Yeah. There's salam, and there's Islam. Yeah, and they all go back to the same. Yeah. See, peace be with you. They all go
Salam
back.
means peace.
I don't mind that.
Salam
I know
means
that.
peace.
I've got no
means
problem with that. That for me,
Yeah,
as a normal
but I'm
Muslim,
saying the
that's
reason
normal.
I'm saying I think it does a disservice when Muslims say Islam is peace because they think.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Why would
Yeah,
they
yeah,
say?
yeah,
Why would they
justice,
say
I
that?
would
Why
say,
would they
justice.
say
Hey,
that?
since you are
I
Muslim,
think
yeah,
it's
what-
because of.
Is it deliberate or is it?
Sometimes I think it's deliberate but unintentional.
word
There's,
Alamin?
it might sound like an oxymoron, but I
Allah's
believe
the creator,
it's
the one.
because there's so much pressure, like there's so much PR
It is
Muslims
the
feel
moon
they
god.
need to do that they
The
end
moon
up
god.
saying these things
Allah's
to
the
make
moon
Islam look better. But in doing so, they do a disservice to Islam. It's not.
Dishonest.
Yeah,
And when people learn about the dishonesty, then
it makes it look even worse. So I will clearly
If
say.
you don't believe me, you watch the.
No, but the
Christian
question that I was
Prince, yeah?
asking-
He's an
Oh,
Arabic guy.
Christian
I mean,
Prince said it.
Right?
I'm saying I've got
He's
no
very
vested
Arabic.
interest either way.
Yeah.
But I mean, if
I
the
can
Chinese
tell you've been
government,
watching
bearing in mind that
Christian
they know more than what you or I know,
The Quran say,
if they're targeting
a
certain Muslim
Muslim
community
girl,
or the Muslim
right?
community in general,
If he see a stranger, look
what
at
are
her.
they seeing that they're not seeing from, say,
in a dirty
Christians
way,
or
yeah?
followers of John Smith?
Maybe
or
they
something?
see a
She
threat
should
to the
let the
system.
stranger suckle her
Exactly,
breast
they
10
might do.
times.
And maybe there is a genuine threat to them as well. Maybe
If you don't believe me, you check it.
But then, okay, a threat to communism or
Either
whatever
the-
might not be as militant as you think.
No, show us.
I think it might not be as problematic as they're making it out.
Obviously, this isn't a communist country.
Receipts.
Okay then, next week, yeah, I will write the.
But,
next week. Show us the
Yeah,
evidence
I
now.
don't be yeah. Next week I will bring it and then you could
Well,
go
we've
online.
got a knowledgeable brother here. Say that again. I don't even
what
heard
did you
of
say?
this. I'm suckling on some 10 nipples or something.
If you don't believe me, yeah.
Wait, what was it? What was it?
If you don't believe me, next time I will bring.
No, what
the-
was the point that you made? That
It says there was a Muslim girl say to I think he's a cleric or an imam in Egypt, right?
in Azhar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, no, he's talking about there's a listen. Before I made
It's a
a
fact,
disclaimer,
I mean, have
I believe Azhar is
have-
off.
Have I
I don't take any knowledge.
Have I made
No, yeah, you
anything
exaggerated still, but basically
Well,
the man said, yeah, there's a concept of suckling mothers. You know, when you have children that are born whose mothers don't produce breast milk, there is a concept of wet nurses. So wet nurses are considered in Islam to be family. So if I, for example, if oh, it's mad. I don't even
Even
want
a stranger.
But if there were two unrelated people, yeah, and they suckled from the same wet nurse, they'd be considered brother and sister in Islam.
It's nothing got to do with my sister and brothers.
So the Azhari Sheikh said basically, yeah, if you drink the breast milk, if you drink the breast milk of a unrelated woman 5 times, yeah, that woman becomes related to you. So then there's you can't marry her. So then you can interact with her in the workplace and all sorts of things to get away the anti mixing between non-related men and women. That was his fatwa.
And that's through breast milk, you were saying?
That's through breast milk, yeah. But people.
Is that true though?
But
I mean,
people
is that
exaggerate.
true? Is that hadith?
No, I don't know of any hadith that says that.
It's the
But
Sheikh on Imam say that. Not
You
me,
believe
right?
that to be
I never said, no, I don't. That's what I'm saying. Azhar is not somewhere I take my Islamic knowledge from.
Where'd you take your Islamic knowledge from?
I take that from, there's lots of places, from Saudi, from Kuwait, from Africa.
Which books? Which books? Because you can do that individually without listening to other people.
What books?
Yeah.
There's lots of books. There's so many books.
I mean,
that
obviously the Quran, any other
Quran, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i. That's where all the hadiths are. Bazzar, Ibn Abi Asim, and then you go further down and there's books in jurisprudence. There's books in fiqh.
How do you find the hadiths? Do you find them to be make good sense, something that you would follow, or do you find
There's authentic hadiths and there's unauthentic hadiths, and when you
How
find
do you know which one is authentic?
Yeah, how do you
which one
know?
is-
by chains of narration and biographies.
and would some people disagree with you on which ones are?
Yeah, there's differing between Muslims as to which are authentic and which are not.
Yeah,
But
so that
I'm
means
not.
It's like in every
No Muslim ever claimed that all
Christianity, you don't
hadiths
really
are
have
authentic.
Pretty much the books of the Bible,
It's the
so
fact-
and people kind of debate on
Go
that.
back to the books of
Whereas with
hadith.
It's
Catholic,
like if there's
they
2
had
bottles
like
of water,
things like purgatory
one
and
bottle
stuff added, which
contains
was from the
cyanide,
Latin.
yeah?
Because
One
what
bottle
the-
of
Are you
what they
Muslim,
did in
brother?
Rome, they
Right? Are you following
created
hadith?
a Latin Bible with a lot of added
I
stuff in
only
it.
follow
And that's why this country broke
what
free
the
for about
Christian
600 years ago. And we went
I
our
mean,
own
there's
way.
stuff they
Old
got out.
Testament, New Testament. I don't get that.
What you say is
That's,
based on the
well,
Quran or the
For me, when I was
hadith or
Christian,
whatever.
I never
Right,
understood
okay.
the Old Testament.
So then
New Testament. How can
but you don't live by
create a new
Quran or
holy
hadith, do you?
Bible?
Sorry?
You don't live by Quran
Well,
or
it says
hadith. So then it doesn't
Revelation,
really
anyone
matter
who
whether
takes
the
anything,
hadiths are
subtracts
authentic or
anything
not
from
to
this
you.
book is basically going to be cursed,
But
essentially.
I hear a lot of
So people were
Muslims
doing
say
that, and they were doing
this
that,
is-
I guess, in the Vatican.
This is
I swear in the New Testament it says we're allowed to eat
not
pork and all that.
the authentic. This is.
I think pretty much you
authentic.
can. New
Right. So
Testament.
then you have to take
You
their
can-
word
well,
for it, or you
Christians-
have to study it
Christians say that
yourself.
Jesus came and made a new covenant.
It's like there's 2
So that
doctors
was the
of
whole
you,
point
yeah?
of it, I think.
One of
Yeah,
you are
so-
real
so
doctors,
in
one of
Christianity,
you are.
You have to
phony.
first establish who's the doctor.
That Jesus
All of you are a
changed the
uniform
rules,
on.
To me, my main thing, as long
He
as it doesn't
fulfilled the
contradict
old
the Quran,
prophecies,
the Quran
and
is
then
obviously our
basically
main.
you are the
was
real
created.
doctor.
I think that's
You
pretty
first
much
have to
it, yeah.
establish which one first.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying
I think there were several-
you have to establish.
Accuracy, I don't know why
How can we
prophet-
prove to you that we're doctors?
like Esau.
How do we do that?
Do such a thing.
If I say to you, I'm a doctor, let me operate
You
on
say
you. How
Isa,
would you
which mean
know
by
I'm a
Isa?
doctor or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
I-
But in the
if
Quran
you
as well, I think it says that
ask me,
Jesus
yeah, how
didn't die on the
do I know
cross.
which
What
one is
Allah
the real doctor?
put one of the security of people
Do you
in his
know?
place on the cross.
Do you know
This
who
nigga's
is?
got his funny.
So, I mean, a lot of people would say, you know, what kind of
You tell
God
me then, who
would
is
replace
the real
Jesus on the
doctor?
cross with somebody else to die
if
in
you're
his
gas.
place? A lot of people find that abhorrent.
If you're a guest, then you
know,
can't do
so-
anything, innit? We can both
And
operate
a lot of
on
people
it.
say, oh, I wouldn't believe that. So there's
But
stuff either way from
did
the different
Muhammad
belief
flirt
systems
with his
that
daughter
people
or not?
accept. So
No. Where did you get that
Yeah.
from?
No. Oh boy, man.
You're pulling out all of the.
I guess you don't know your stuff, mate.
Flirt with his daughter-in-law. Who was his daughter-in-law?
His adopted son's wife, right?
Adopted. There's not even a concept of adopted sons in Islam.
It is. It's
No. Sorry. Go. What was the names? Give the names and details.
I don't know, but it is.
You're just throwing out a lot of stuff out there today.
If you don't believe me, you check Christian Prince, right?
Oh, come on. Stop promoting these
You check,
stupid people, man.
right? It's in the book. I didn't make things up, remember?
I never said you
You
make
could-
things up.
you
I'm
could
saying
double check, right?
stop watching anti-da'wah
Whatever I say,
channels
yeah,
and then
you can
and then
Google
coming
it.
out and
Right?
spitting the same thing that they.
If I say one thing is
Let
wrong, you could be a liar.
Christian Prince come to the park and defend
Have
himself.
you read the Quran yourself? Or?
I have the Quran at home.
But you haven't read it. It seems to me you're learning your Islam from anti-Islamic sources.
You what do you call it? Anti-Islamic.
Well, Christian
Christian
Prince is not exactly the best friend of Islam, is he?
What do you mean? He is not a friend of Islam. He's an Arab. Remember?
So what does that mean?
Well,
So he knows better than everyone else because he's an Arab.
because he read Arabic, he understands Arabic more than your guy.
Do you know what?
right?
I would
Well, at least he
guarantee
can read it.
there's a lot of
you say
there's a lot of Arabians who don't understand Arabic themselves.
He won't be lost in translation.
But the Arabic and the Christian Prince.
I would say to you, I will answer that question. I will answer that
That is his
question.
mother tongue,
I
remember.
will answer you that question. Yeah, when you
Can
can
I
bring.
say I speak better English
Brother,
than him or him?
I will
couldn't.
answer that question when you bring me a classical Arabic dictionary from an Arab.
I don't know.
Bring.
I don't know.
There
any
isn't.
classical.
All the classic Arabic linguists are non-Arabs. So
If someone grew up as an Arab, it's like him. He grew up as an English guy. Yeah, he knows the English language better than me.
if I grew up
Right?
if I grew up in where can I?
Your English
If I
is better than mine,
if I
right?
grew up in some
The facts, right? Your English is better than mine, right?
no it might brother, it might be perceived because of the way I'm speaking
Yeah.
that my English is better than you. But when it comes to grammar, and understanding grammatical how the English language is constructed, you might know better than me because you've actually studied it. People who speak their native languages generally don't tend to study it.
Interesting.
They generally don't tend to study past it. They just know it as of
They
the.
knew the language. I mean, they knew a follow them upon it. It's like Chinese
Okay, let me
language,
tell
yeah?
you know. Let me mention one point to you now. You see, Arabs today,
Yeah.
when they speak with each other, they don't speak with proper pronouns.
This is Robbie's mate, I know that.
How about that?
Why is that?
He spent 20
Because-
years in university. I mean, come on, man.
It's because for them it's quicker. The language is so. You have a pronoun for a male.
It's almost like slang.
Yeah. So it's literally like that. Like it's to the point where sometimes when I hear Arabs speaking, I actually can't understand what they're
Can
saying.
you understand Arabic?
I could, if I hear Arabic, classical Arabic from the Quran, and I hear it from the Hadiths, I can understand
How
it.
long
Do
have
you
you learned in
speak
Arabic?
Arabic?
Do I speak Arabic?
Yeah.
My Arabic is very poor, but I can speak and I can get by.
How long is it? How
No
long have
word.
you been learning it for?
A few
Well,
words.
I've been a Muslim for April will be 14 years.
Do you feel like a Muslim
So-
should need to speak Arabic?
According to a lot of the Muslims here, they say, oh,
You've got to know that-
you have
Oh,
to
yeah, I've
read
heard
the
that.
Arabic.
I've heard that.
You have to read.
you know the
You have to read it.
When you hear Muslims saying you need to,
Muslim,
they don't say
right?
you need to speak Arabic, but they say you need to understand Arabic
Arabic,
because
yeah, to know the Quran.
there is significance in Arabic language as the Quran was revealed in Arabic language.
So none of your guys
it's
speak
not.
Arabic. So,
it's not.
so
It's,
your guys are not true Muslim then.
what?
You
No,
need to,
he's saying,
you need to speak the Arabic language to learn Arabic. To
Firstly,
learn the Quran.
there's no requirement for you to speak Arabic at all, whatsoever.
They say you
That's
need
number.
to-
No.
Your
That-
Muslim brothers
No,
say
no,
you
they
need
don't
to
say
use
that. They say you need to
Arabic.
understand Arabic. Understand.
Yeah.
Speaking, is of no consequence. You don't need to be able to speak Arabic to understand it.
So we don't speak it. So what the hell? If someone can say,
Like I say, I can read very well. My speaking is poor.
You read Arabic well.
I can read Arabic very well.
Is it a complicated language to learn?
It's not a complicated language to learn. But then again, I learned it because I was convicted in Islam. So maybe someone who has no interest in learning Islam might not be able to pick up Arabic grammar as such. But then again, I've been learning 14 years and I'm still learning now. Yeah, it's not a hard thing to
What
pick
do you
up.
find the benefits of learning, Arabic and becoming a Muslim? What do you find the benefits?
The benefit is when I read verses or when I hear verses in my prayer in the mosque, it hits me more. I can contemplate on it. Sometimes because I've studied grammar and the way words come grammatically, it has more of what can I say? It's more significant to me what the verse is being, the information the verse is portraying, especially when sometimes words can hold multiple meanings that you can actually gather from verses sometimes multiple multiple lessons.
Kind of like the word fly. It could mean fly away, or it could be like a little
Right,
insect thing.
yeah. So there's a...
That means you need to know the full Arabic to know what it means, even a single word, right? A single word can mean dozens of different meanings.
Yeah, and it's, but you can also tell.
So if you don't
can,
speak the Arabic, how the heck do you know what it means?
you can tell by the sequence, the context.
Yeah.
So, how would you guys like, this country to become like an Islamic country, for the majority of people to become Muslim? How would you like that in this country? Just in England, say, or Britain?
Yeah, like the thing is, I don't.
Would you get a yes vote or a no vote for that?
If there was a ballot to say you make it, yeah, I'll say yeah.
And yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I don't dream at home
me
of a
personally-
Sharia country. Yeah.
Me personally, I find myself.
thought.
Me personally, I find myself. I quite like a bit of diversity. So I like to have different opinions, different schools of thought, because it's more challenging. If everyone has the same kind of school of thought, the problem you get is you've got nowhere to go to. One thing, if you get problems within a certain group, but you can learn more. You've got everyone focused on a different area of knowledge, and I think it just works better. So when the world's more diverse, you just learn more. I just think if everyone becomes Islamic, the whole world becomes Muslim. Even if the whole world becomes Christian, I'd be a little bit like...
Having Islamic country also doesn't necessitate that everyone within it needs to be a Muslim.
Right.
Doesn't necessitate.
Because me, personally, I struggle with belief.
And you'll still have diversity of culture in Islam.
Okay.
There's still, we'll still be England. There'll still be.
Me personally, I struggle with belief. I just can't believe things. It's just the way I am.
Are you atheist then? Are you?
I'm not an atheist. I wouldn't call myself an atheist. Even I wouldn't class myself an agnostic. I don't see why I should class myself. I just don't believe in anything. I can look to philosophies and I can say that's good. That makes sense. It's good stuff. And I've had some interesting kind of, supernatural experience. I've had a few strange things happen. So I'm quite open to quantum physics and revealing more and more strange things about the universe. So I'm quite open to spiritual dimensions and stuff like that. But just when it comes to the conversation, someone says you have to believe. If you're not a believer, you're going to hell. I'm like, I kind of can't. It's like bought into me. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, you see, and I don't think
Well, I can understand, but I do struggle. If everyone starts believing things, and people don't have the critical faculty, Dr. Spock, he was very logical. So if people don't have that kind of logic to kind of like critically think and challenge things, work things out, and they just want to believe, it's a bit like Hitler. Hitler was like, give in to that feeling to submit, give in to that feeling. And it's like, if everyone does that, people just follow orders and they don't challenge orders. And who knows, we all end up down a rabbit hole somewhere, and then who knows what happens to that rabbit hole.
I do understand what you're saying. I do get it. Yeah, going back to your question on...
In terms of praying though, I can understand people, but sometimes I pray myself.
What's your general feeling of Islam? What would stop you being a Muslim?
Yeah, I mean, just the belief thing. I just don't. Even Christians, when they say to me about belief, and I just can't do it. And I've had problems in church groups and stuff.
So how do you know? And I've heard all these arguments, but how do you know what's right or wrong yourself? Do you follow what society is, or do you?
I kind of work it out for myself.
Do you think that's the best way?
I think it's pretty good. I think that we've
So you think
evolved.
if every individual works out for themselves, is that not a big problem?
Not necessarily, but we've got cultures around us. That's why I find diversity can be a good thing, because you can find. I was reading about Arnold Schwarzenegger the other day, and when he was younger, he kind of his relationship with his parents kind of staled out, got a bit stale, and he wanted to move forward. He was very ambitious, and what he found was that finding other guys at the gym, that was his love, passion was the weights, and he found other guys, older men at the gym, they became like father figures to him. So it became by finding other people, it helped him to broaden his horizons. So that's how he made better decisions.
He may well have found steroid users. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger probably was anyway. He may as well looked up to the wrong people. So there are dangers in that.
We do know that he looked
there may
up
be
to-
good example, but it sounds like a
If you
very
look at Arnold
dangerous.
Schwarzenegger, what we know, I mean, he and others around him as well helped to develop knowledge of anatomy and how the muscles and how physiology works, and that affected other sports as well.
Islam doesn't stop you learning. It doesn't stop you progressing. And
Right,
things like that.
right.
Would you say it does?
I'm not sure because we found. I mean,
Islam
if you look at-
encourages science.
if you look at
Islam
China-
encourages.
I know you can say that, but if you look, I mean, before World War II and during World War II, the Ottoman Empire had some troubles, and it seemed to become it was kind of class even amongst the Turkish people. They kind of looked at it. It's becoming like the sick man of Europe. It wasn't keeping up with the rest of Europe with the Industrial Revolution. And in the end, I think that the royal family and the elite, they kind of they did things like banning the burqa and modernising the Islam there. and Turkey quickly modernised and they moved forward. So there were certain things that seemed to hold it back, just little things hold us back. And sometimes I do worry that when people want to go back to some romantic era, some caliphate, something like that. Sometimes we can get pulled back to romantic periods, and sometimes things become, we get pulled backwards, and we need to move forward. And we need to look to the past for wisdom.
would you say
history. You
society
must remember
is?
history, otherwise you repeat the same mistakes. You keep going back to it and you forget, And I think as well with religions too, I mean, sometimes you find that religions...
Islam will never be modernised. It can't be.
This is the
How
problem.
can God's word? If you look at it from my perspective,
Yeah.
how can it be modernised?
Well,
Why
if
would
you
you
look-
want it? Why would you want it modernised? Why would
Even
you
if
want
you look at the Bible and the New Testament, even if you look, Jesus, he fulfilled the old prophecies. And I don't know much about Christianity, but he fulfilled the old prophecies and kind of created. This new covenant was fulfilled and created. And so by doing that, the people, the spirituality of those people, and their concepts of God, the relationship with the universe that they have, was moved forward, it evolved. So and it moved forward. The ability to forgive, and turn the other cheek, and to be slow to anger, rather than an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Maybe help Christian countries to move forward. There were certain things, maybe in terms of like the cleanliness.
You think Christian countries move forward?
I think they did, but where they lacked slightly were things like, they were saying, the disciples, somebody said, oh look, they were saying in one of the New Testament stories.
Do you think the Crusaders and they were
No, let me just finish the story. They were saying, one of the disciples, they said, oh, he's not clean, something about he's not clean. And Jesus said, the only thing that's unclean is what's in your heart. So I think a little bit what was taken in Europe was maybe the idea of cleanliness maybe wasn't as it could have been, and maybe you had things like the bubonic plague. Who knows? I'm just looking into what could have created. I think you've talked about this before. You've mentioned about this, I think. So who knows? So there's things within belief systems that have to move forward and have to be
So do you
developed.
feel like the society we're currently in is progressing in a real progressive way?
It's moving forward.
Do you think?
It's
Do
definitely
you see
learning.
things around that's not progressing?
There's good and bad. There's good and bad things happening, and there's confusion amongst people, and certain things. If you look at, there's a lot of people now in schools. They seem to be doing this thing where they're suppressing people's puberty and deciding what sex they want to become later on. They seem to be encouraging that.
And you can see Islam would stop that, wouldn't it? Islam would stop that.
But would it? Because in a lot of Islamic countries, if people are homosexual, what I've come to know and been told is these people are encouraged to have sex changes if they've been found to be homosexual. So in some of these Islamic countries, some of this stuff maybe hasn't been stopped.
Yeah, and the practices of Islamic countries may not always be Islam.
And there's plenty of Islam here now. Like the percentage. What's the percentage? It's only like 6 to 7% of the country that we know about. And there's probably a lot of illegal people here as well who are Islamic
I think
as
it was
well.
even 5%.
So these things still happen, and it's part of the learning curve that we're going through in society. So things, hopefully things will iron out and be worked out. But knowledge is progressing, and there's a lot of battles to have along the way in lots of ways.
I just find it strange that what was right and wrong 100 years ago is so different now, and then in another 100 years it's going to change. And you're kind of assuming we're moving forward, but you've already given examples where we're possibly going backwards.
Well, 100
Whereas
years
Islam,
ago,
obviously, from a Muslim's point of view, obviously we're following the word of God that never changes, and is giving us the guidance that's going to help us.
you mentioned common law earlier. Common law develops, doesn't it? It's developed through the courts.
Yes, it does. And does it evolve rightly or wrongly? I mean,
Well, if you look at like say just over 100 years ago, you didn't have aeroplanes.
should morality change?
It may do. It may do. It depends. It could well do. I think. If you look at 100 years ago, we didn't have aeroplanes. But now we have aeroplanes, so things have changed. People can move around the world much more quickly. Laws have to develop around aviation. Law has to develop, and if you just live by, if you had a Sharia system, tell me if I'm wrong. But in a country where Sharia, sometimes you struggle to have musical development. I mean, Europe was like Europe had tons of musical development. I mean, tons of it.
To be honest,
you're going to say the guitar.
Yeah. When you look historically, Islamically, Islam never actually hindered any musical progression in places. Musical progression. There was still the guitar.
But where was the
drums
guitar
and-
developed? Was it developed in the Middle East, or was it developed in other parts of the world? It's not.
May
as
have been
clear-cut.
developed. I'm not too sure where, but I'm saying is you had when you look back into the history of certain religious figures even, they indulged in music. So there has historically never been anything that has prevented musical advancement. But I would question, is musical advancement...
It does change the music, because if you have one dominant culture, for instance, you know, the idea concept of a new world order, if you have one world government, if you get a problem with the government, where are you going to run to?
Wait,
where are you going to run to?
So what are we assuming that like Sharia law would call to like a one government type state?
Well, most religions do. I mean, like even if you look at Judaism,
according to a new world order.
well, some of them do. Some of them would, you know, like to have everybody become Muslim and then certain scriptures be fulfilled. It's the same with Christians too. Everyone must know. So a lot of religions do have these things.
Islamically speaking, though, there's never been any mention that everybody is going to become Muslim. Ever. So people who assume or try to attain that goal are misled.
Delusional and misled, because of course, you know, Allah mentions it from an Islamic point of view. Allah mentions in the Quran that if He wanted, He could have created mankind into one community. He says that in the Quran.
Right.
Additionally, He said that
But what about jizya tax? Because like non-Muslims, you know, non-believers, they have to pay a jizya tax. But
and the Muslims have to pay zakat.
In non-Muslim, zakat. But in non-Muslim countries, there isn't this differential. Generally speaking, there isn't this kind of differentialism created, you know, whereby we charge Muslims an extra tax for being Muslims. I know you said in China they're doing something where for some reason they're doing that. I don't know what they realise, what they know, what they feel is a threat to them. So, you know,
just to mention, the jizya actually doesn't have a monetary value. The jizya could actually be just 5 pence.
Well, I've heard people argue here and say that if you can't pay the jizya, you have to give up your daughters and stuff like that.
What?
I know, that's what I've heard people say.
That's why.
That's true.
Do you know what? That's why I know sometimes it sounds like I'm being pedantic, but that's why I always ask people, please provide your evidence. Like making claims that you have to give up your daughter. Well, your daughter's not a commodity.
I'm sure there'll be somebody arguing this next week.
She's not a commodity. Yeah, people that say stuff that I don't know. I have to question: are they mentally starved of oxygen, or like, what is it that? It's not, Islam doesn't come so you can trade your daughter like goats. And, like,
there was stuff that was sanctioned even like in the last 200 years against this country, you know. I mean, like where kind of like pirates would come off to the coast of this country and they would like kidnap whole villages, and they would be taken, and clergy, you know, the parishioners would have to save up money, and they used to do this ransom money, and then the clergy would go out there to like, for instance, Libya, and try to find out where these people are gone, see if they can find them, and then try to buy them back as slaves. You know, and so this stuff was going, and this was sanctioned by the Ottoman Empire.
Oh yeah,
so,
I was going to say, don't. A lot of
if you
people,
can't pay the jizya, don't worry, we'll come to your island and kidnap them.
A lot of people confuse the actions of the Seljuk dynasty and the Ottomans who came from them as how Islam is now.
Right, but it's the only example we've got, because I mean, Ottoman was the dominant Islamic caliphate.
The thing is, within the Ottoman Empire, there are different rulers. Different rulers had different stipulations, and progressively over time, it got worse. Like it's clear for people to say, it got worse.
So is it a good thing that it crumbled in the end?
Would I say it's a good thing? I'm saying what was the
degenerated that much?
Do you know what? Allah knows best. I don't know if it was a good thing, if it was a bad thing. All I know is that there were some vices within the system which led to its corruption anyway. I don't really think I feel comfortable with an Ottoman Empire that was rubbing shoulders with Russia and whoever it was at the end of the First World War, which led to its collapse anyway. So, you know, but that's not. The Ottomans are not. I know people.
Sometimes I do say this to people. You know, people believe in God and stuff, and to Muslims, and I've said, and when they're kind of arguing there, and I say to them, but why are some of these Muslim countries, if they're doing Allah's will,
I would advise you to watch Resurrection on Netflix.
Hang on. Then, you know, if they're doing Allah's will and they're doing it properly and correctly, then why is Allah letting them fail? Why are they losing to so whether the West is right or wrong in what they're doing in the Middle East? You know, why are they losing? Why aren't they dominant? And why haven't they been dominant? And maybe it's because they're not treating the, other people around the world as freely as they could. You know, this is what I'm saying to you. In China, who knows what's going on? Why the Chinese?
You may very well have a point. yeah, it's not a foreign idea that Allah is punishing Muslims for their actions, for their previous actions, or of their ancestors. If Allah is just towards people who are just, right? That's not to say that everyone who's suffering is being punished. It might be a trial that may be temporarily afflicting them, that will be lifted from them. But we have seen gross misconduct in the Muslim world. I will not sugarcoat that for you.
And it's not just ISIS as well, isn't it? You know,
It's not. It predated.
I know Annie Dole will say it's ISIS, but it's not just ISIS.
No, but
It's ISIS!
But what is important to maybe underlining that is that Muslims also suffered under these people as well. Like, so it wasn't an
As did the British, you know, if you look at the common British people, you know, that many of them suffered greatly under the wealthy too. I mean, look at if you didn't fight in World War I, just be killed for cowardice anyway.
Yeah.
So 3.5 million people. I mean, 3.5 million people lost in the trenches, or so, you know, in World War I, just from this country alone. I mean, like, you know, it's a good way to depopulate, isn't it? You know?
Go on, man.
I just wanted to point out as well, yeah, a lot of people keep forgetting the fact that due to the advancements of the early Muslim empires, of how it advanced, you know, stuff like maths and science, and when
Some of the algebra stuff.
yeah, algebra, as well.
Medicine.
So
You'd expect something to come from it. Yeah?
I mean, I just believe that, you know, when it comes to Islamic history, we can talk about its eventual downfall and some of the problems within the leaders within themselves and individual Muslims. But we keep forgetting that what it's done for the world that we actually currently live in as well, the advancements. So when it comes to, are you guys aware when Islam conquered Spain, the region of Andalusia, and how Cordoba in Spain was like it was like the center of the earth at one stage, and how it was technologically advanced, and how they introduced.
Take care, man. See you later.
Okay,
The fact that they introduced public baths, they introduced sea navigation.
Well, to be
They
fair,
were watching
I mean, the
themselves before,
Romans.
no?
I mean, yeah, but the Romans, like 2,000 years ago, had fantastic public baths, heated as well. You know, drainage systems.
You could say the Greeks as well, but at the same time, even
They use them like 4 times a year, though, innit?
when the Muslims got
I think that was the British.
times
I'm
a
joking.
day.
I'm being
Joke.
No, I just feel like these things need to be highlighted as well.
Okay.
Without great Muslim scholars and scientists and mathematicians at the time, I don't think we would have a lot of the advancements and the luxuries that we have in our current world today. So I think the world needs to pay homage to that as well. And on top of that, I just wanted to point out an interesting fact that maybe
I mean,
people don't
all
actually know.
people have added stuff. All people around the world have added something.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Take care of yourself. Yeah, take care. So again, the Greeks had contributed to the world
Massively,
So
yeah.
the Romans, so did most empires. I'm saying if the conversation right now specifically talking about Islamic history and stuff like that, I just feel like we need to highlight these things as well. Just want to
But I would say as well, though, that highlighting other people's wrongs because we did wrong stuff as well is not. It's kind of like a diverting tactic. Right? Fair enough, there's a lot of advances, but we need to be clear about the fact that certain things did Islamically, in the Islamic nations at least, went wrong. Which certain things we should learn from, like, and learn from going forward, not repeat them going on.
Here's one for you then. Like, as I said, like in Turkey, they in 1922 or something, they kind of banned the hijab and that for women.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, what's your view? What's your view on like banning the hijab? And that was a Muslim country.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
Boy, yeah, but
Turkey came into agreement with when they abolished the
It seemed to
For
work
me, I
for
got a
Turkey.
question.
It seemed to work for Turkey.
for me, I got to question the Islam of someone who claims he's a Muslim, yet wants to ban
to
women
forbid something that was halal in
from,
Islam.
from wearing hijab. Like, Allah legislated for the women to wear it. Allah did. That's my belief. Not a man. The creator of the heavens and the earth legislated for the women
But
to
where
wear
does it
it.
say that in the Quran? Because I know in the Bible it said, a man and a woman should dress like humbly. This is for Christians, kind of protocol. So they should be modest. They shouldn't really be wearing earrings. and stuff
For a
like
woman
that.
to cover her hair. A woman doesn't cover her hair, shave her head.
Well, certainly for Christians, it doesn't say that the woman has to cover her hair, but it says that they should be modest in the way they dress.
Yeah,
Commanded.
but it mentions modesty, not reddening the cheeks. So it even implicitly implies like makeup and like adornments in the hair, like strings, hairbands, that sort of colourful stuff, bands. But it does go on to do that. But Quran is
Twisting the hair?
It's about your bread.
Yeah, maybe, but not for
You're
men.
living too lavish, man.
Not for-
Just simplify it.
As long as we're not wearing skinny jeans out here, let's just say.
But the Quran mentions maybe 2 or 3 words. No, 3 words when it comes to women's clothing. Yeah, mentions hijab. Right? It mentions khimar.
But
which comes in
hijab, is that head covering or is that just modest dressing?
No, a hijab actually means a screen. So a hijab would actually be, if there was a partition between me and you, it would be called a hijab if we couldn't see each other. Yeah, but it's been like
Men have a
modified.
hijab as well, don't they? Men can have a hijab.
That's what the cheesy Da'wah brothers come up with. Like, there's no Islamic hadith
I think Muhammad Hijab said that before.
No. I think he means there is modesty for the man as well. There is, but calling it a hijab is a bit of
So no Peter Andre stuff there, getting his pecs out and stuff, no?
Obviously,
Of course not. Of course not. No.
See, for us men, we've got a couple like anything from our bilanis to our top of our belly buttons. Obviously, to not wear tight clothing as well, like skinny jeans and certain type of things. What else as well? Like, you've got certain brothers wearing really, really tight tops and that, you know. No, it's true, you know.
But I just wanted to, because a lot of people say there isn't anything in the Quran. So it mentions hijab, mentions khimar, it comes in the form of khumar, which is a plural.
Does it mention niqab?
Does it mention niqab? It doesn't mention niqab, but it mentions jilbab. But when you go into the Islamic explanations of tafsir, and you go into the language itself, yeah, and you identify what these pieces of clothing were, then you realise it's not just the little H&M scarf that women put on sometimes. Yeah, they call them H&M sisters. But I'm saying, no, it includes the khimar, which is a garment from the head to the legs, and then it mentions a jilbab, which is from the neck down, right? And then, and then you have the tafsir that the Sahaba women did, yeah? So when the verse was revealed about them covering their beauty, the way they acted upon it was by them tearing their curtains and covering themselves, yeah? So that the only thing that was left was an eye. Or 2 eyes.
Just one eye?
An eye.
It didn't have a triangle around it like that, did it?
Well, it might have been. But it was... So we have all these explanations of how the women implemented the verses of hijab. Yeah. And it shows you it's more than, again, the little scarf that some people wear. You know.
Right.
So it is there. There's a wealth of...
No, I'm good.
There's a wealth of Islamic literature, which is... But there is a difference again. There is a differing between scholars as to whether the niqab is something that women should wear or if they're free to leave their whole face open.
Because I watched this morning, and you've probably seen it. It was a imam, and he was debating with ladies with the cap, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, this is wrong," but the woman said, "This is right." Oh, this is wrong, which is understandable.
That's rubbish.
Don't put your we throw.
Yeah.
I've lost my voice.
To be honest, yeah, it's not something that I don't wear hijab, so I think it's down for the women to stipulate whether it's obligatory for them to wear it or not.
Yeah.
Within the Islamic
See,
guidelines.
the thing that I always wonder as well is when I see Muhammad Hijab, he's great talker and he talks for Islam. But I just think sometimes that once you guys, if you bring Islam into this country and it gets very strong, then the problem you'll have is you guys, you might have a more moderate kind of view of it.
You think some radicalists will take
Yeah,
over?
I definitely think so. Because if you look, some of these countries, there was a lady.
You're already fighting them, though.
I think it's one of the North. Yeah, well, I think it's one of the North African countries. There was an English teacher there, and she said to the kids, "We've got a little teddy bear. What should we call the teddy bear children?" Mohammed. The men went mad. They wanted their whips and everything. So it makes me wonder. I mean, just for calling it Muhammad, it was nothing insulting or anything. But the men there, and I just struggle. As nice as you guys believe it will be, because I don't believe. What I see is that if you bring in something, the more radical stuff, without some kind of pushback, you have to have some kind of resistance.
But I think that sort of stuff happens because people are not being fair when they're trying to enact legislation. Like, when you read certain things, for me, it doesn't make sense that in these countries they're allowed to like beat their wives upside their head and stuff. But when it comes to someone calling the teddy bear Muhammad, that
Some of these guys they carry little sticks to
What's wrong with you giving wrong information, man? What's
I
wrong?
don't keep it wrong based on.
that's not correct for me. So it's all about having reasonable people to implement these.
What do you think about beating women to keep them in line? Some level of beating women.
I don't believe the messenger of Allah never did
There's no
it.
idols.
As far as I
No
know.
idols inside.
Yeah, and the way I react with my wife, if there's something I'm upset about, I let her know.
How many wives you got? Keep it simple, man.
I thought it's 4.
If I tried to get another one, I'd be ended. So
You might have to go to Saudi to get a second.
she'd find me over there, mate, and kill us both. But yeah, I don't have anything against polygamy. If you've got the ability to do it more
There are
places.
some cultures where the women can have multiple men.
Yeah, that's true.
And what about that though?
Nah, I'm not on that.
You sexist!
Nah, I'm not on that.
I said there are some cultures where the women can have multiple
I don't want to
men.
start.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
want
Women
to
can have multiple men. But he says no.
Certain part of
I say, you know, that's sexist. Why not? Why not? It's sexist. Why not?
Alright, see,
Sexist.
That's
Okay.
sexist. Oh, that's
It could
sexist.
work for them.
Hey,
I don't want to say nothing that messed me up
how
still.
much is that
Listen,
You see that? If a woman,
How much this one cost you? 900 at least.
That does the opposite. That allows women to marry more than.
How will you know who's the father?
That is one man.
see Islam, we can have 4
But
wives.
they're not racist. They're not racist and they love each other, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
Oh, you're gonna go with it.
look, as a man, would you
No,
want to
but
be like,
check this though.
kind of looks like me?
With some men,
Check this for a woman.
some men aren't that bothered, some men aren't quite so
I hate
bothered.
to be
Men
like
have different kind of like
But as a woman,
kind of animal, kind of feral, kind of.
I want to know if that's my kid.
4 men.
You do, but as long as you're not stopping
You wouldn't.
polygamy,
And when you talk about,
you know, in the other way.
because
You've got to be fair as Muslims. You've got to be fair as well, but you can't dominate other people with different cultures.
Men are
If they're going to be tolerant of you, you have to be tolerant.
So you're taking in 4 different people. That's for me. That don't even sound healthy. Do you know what I'm saying?
He doesn't like the idea now.
No.
He's got to share with 3 other men.
No, because I'm saying, listen, men release.
They're not gay men. It's fine.
No,
It's
I
fine.
say
Don't worry.
men release and women take in. Yeah, and I asked the sister. Yeah. As a woman, yeah, you wouldn't. I don't believe any woman wants like 4 men's different liquids in
Some
them.
cultures do it. Some cultures do.
Fair enough. That's more power to them, innit?
I would listen.
But
There's one question and one.
as long as you're not opposing their culture, though, you got to be accepted. If you're
gotta be
accepted, you've got to accept. If
Nah.
you're accepted, you've got to accept.
I'm sorry, bro. There's no tolerance for that in my face. So.
You're no tolerance for it.
But there are like.
See this? He's got no tolerance for polygamy in the other way, when the woman can have 3 or 4 men.
In fact, I should mention polygamy does actually go both ways. Polygyny is the name for.
Is it polygyny?
Polygyny.
Or polygyny?
Polygyny.
Different, yeah?
Yeah.
You've researched it. You
course I
know.
have.
It's researched. I love it. I love it.
3 or 4.
Wow.
Even in China as well.
When's the last time you drank?
And that's a fact.
Oh no.
When's the last time you drank?
7XY.
I'm not sure.
See, New Year's. New Year's. Did you drink?
So how would you deal with polygyny? How would you deal with that then?
I'm not a proper.
How should it be dealt with?
So I can't say.
What? As in, how would I deal with it?
In the society, in Britain now, how would you deal with it?
Well, it's quite hard to deal with it in this society now. The norms don't actually don't allow you to actually enact it how you would.
So if you don't get baptized,
You wouldn't accept it, how would you stop it?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Polygamy, as what I was saying, is polygamy goes for both men and women. Polygyny is the male-orientated one. So if they did allow polygamy, everyone could do it. Like, but don't
But you have
expect
to be married. Imagine, say you have to be married, or you've only allowed 4. Yeah, a woman's only allowed 4 men. Would you be happy with that in society?
Is it
covering the hair in that?
Would you work to stop it?
Yeah, I would.
I know you're a black girl, so I know black girls are funny about their hair. That's not
But you would be upset if someone campaigned against you. If someone campaigned against Islamic law.
No. If someone, okay.
So people need to actively campaign against Islamic law is what we're saying. So we've got that part.
People do that though.
I know they do, but
Yeah,
you don't
so-
like it.
No, I don't care.
But if Tommy Robinson campaigns against Islamic stuff,
If Tommy Robinson wants to campaign to ban Islam, fair enough. My obligation observation, my
But he's
My
not against,
obser-
I think he said he's not against, like, he's got no problem with Sufis and stuff like that.
yeah, but that's it. He's saying he
Ahmadiyans.
doesn't. Yeah, so he's saying I have no problem with certain strands of Islam. Right. My thing is, yeah, if he campaigned against Islam because he's an Englishman, he doesn't like it. Fair enough, do that.
He's
Because
not
the
English,
hate,
he's Irish, but
yeah. And my thing is the hate that comes behind it.
Okay.
It's the ooh-ah-yahs and all of that stuff there, like, and a lot of the physical violence that's directed to Muslim women after as well. That's a big problem for me. So fair enough, do what you want. You're conservative, you're left, you know, you're binary, whatever. It's up to you. I can't force you. I don't have the.
I'm trying to think of somebody who isn't violent or physically aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but some of the Muslims here get physically aggressive, intimidating to non-Muslims if they're saying something they even slightly don't like. So there is that goes the other way.
And
Maybe this is Allah or God or the creative force showing the Muslims that there's force going the other way, physical as well.
Yeah.
Because you do. I've had it as well.
See, that's one. For me, that's one of the things I try to fight in the park. I try to enjoin in the Muslim, listen to your opponent, actually deep and actually take in what they're saying and then respond if you have something to critique it rather than fighting. And if you're going to get emotional, walk away.
Because a lot of time the debates we get between Muslims and non-Muslims who are a little bit opposed to some, and when they've got opposed to one another slightly, they tend to be quite vociferous, they're quite aggressive,
they are.
and they're not sticking to the point on the topic sometimes.
They're getting emotional, throwing out ad hominems.
Throwing out kind of nasty little things and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Not even ad hominems, but sometimes just throwing out things which are quite, nasty. About, just picking on certain things, rather than not open it. We're having quite a nice discussion now, I think.
I know it started off a bit aggressive.
It's okay, it's okay, yeah.
You know, it was that thing was actually something that was.
I think it's because people, because they've seen me with tan stuff, so they're kind of expecting that a little bit.
Oh, I've never even assumed that you were
that's
with
the way.
tan.
No, because the other guy was saying, "Oh, Tan's manager," and I was like, "Oh, okay." But we're all individuals. I'm a free thinker, so we get associated with people because we have slightly similar think on certain things. It doesn't mean we're all similar.
It's quite a human thing.
We're all
to be
individual
honest.
thinkers, you know.
But it's quite a human thing to categorise people with who you see them with, like, or the circles that they run with.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be a bit lazy to do that.
It can. Very often it can be lazy. But it is like
it's like you're out for a jog. I can't be bothered to do the last little bit. You get a bit lazy. Well, you're never going to win the marathon, are you? You're never going to be.
Well, if we cook it
Do you guys believe in?
at the old style,
You believe like
it
if
wouldn't be
okay, so
that
if
fast.
a
You know
Muslim
what I
did the
mean?
same
So they
thing,
will.
because I don't believe molesting people.
If we kill someone,
Let's get involved in the conversation.
you
So, how would you rather people, how would you rather Tommy's supporters behave towards you then?
just act like normal human beings. Like, just act like
Yeah, but
regular,
you know,
upstanding,
Tommy Robertson,
law-abiding
he say he
citizens.
is a racist.
I was here on the day when he came down.
This guy, he's made a claim that Tommy Robinson's is a racist guy.
No, is he?
Is he a racist person?
I don't think that's not his thing at
Let me
all.
tell you
really.
something. I
He
think,
walks and
let me tell you something. Tommy Robinson, me personally, what I've looked at it.
No ad hominems.
No, again, what I've just looked like. He's smart in terms of like he uses all the. He knows how to dance around his political game. Let me answer my question. It's a broad question, still in it. So again, I'm not going to try to look at it too subjectively. Yeah? The guy knows how to hide behind the guise of free speech. But I think his concerns about grooming gangs, I understand. Okay, fair point. It's a very fair point. As Muslims, we're against that. We're free from these actions. Islam and Muhammad, the Prophet ﷺ is free from these actions. However, I think he picks and chooses his arguments. When it comes to the Muslim cause, and when the same things happen to some, I don't really see him out there advocating. So, having said that, I do believe he has an agenda against Islam, and I believe the only Muslims that he sees are like what I like to call the watered down Muslims, the ones that like to water down and dilute their religion. But I just feel he has an agenda against Islam. And again, I feel like a lot of his followers are really like they can feel offended, but I feel like some are rational and someone like in terms of like advocating the whole grooming gangs thing. I get that, but the whole a lot of them do seem to don't like the Muslims. You know?
It's strange because it's a shame that Tommy didn't come down here, you know, like 10, 15 years ago, when he could have got the point where he could
about then.
Yeah, because he could.
Because this grooming gangs.
Maybe he didn't know about this place. Maybe he didn't, because he could have come down and he could have debated before he got like more of a rep where it's hard for him to, because somebody might want to assault him.
But look at his rep though. He's come from the EDO. He's come from EDO. He's come from all that buffooning and hooliganism. And you've already tarnished your name, and then you've been involved in mortgage fraud and these type of things. And then now you're trying to advocate, and then he went to rebel media. He's just hopped here and there, and then again he's got a penal record as well. Not to judge him on that, because people may have a penal record and still try to reform their lives.
A lot of Muslims are recruiting.
No. Just hold. You know I'm against this whole recruiting. It's not recruiting. It's not recruiting for war.
Well, there is dawah.
Dawah is an invitation.
Christians and Muslims always
to invite, bro. It's literally to invite. Dawah is invitation. It's not a religion of compulsion that compels you to join. No, Islam's it's a solution for humanity's problems. And it's a solution for most of humanity's problems. And on top of that as well, it's a call for the great good, so the great cause, which is basically La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
If the Muslims are solution to human being, why is there always Muslim?
I can't go to all this killing thing. It's like, you might sound murderous on that.
That's a good question.
Were you smoking as well? Cool. No, chewing up.
You believe
What it is,
yeah?
Muslim may not be perfect. Again, Islam, you understand, Islam and the Prophet Muhammad.
Is the West perfect?
No, the West is not perfect. Islam and the Prophet are free.
You got crucified on the cross.
Muslims' actions, you know. Again, if a Muslims, like there are a lot of Muslim countries that are in complete disarray. They're in complete disarray in terms of both economically, socially. They have a lot of problems, and that's why they've kind of deviated from what Islam kind of calls for. And everyone has the chasing what we like to call chasing dunya, chasing this world too much. You know, thinking about the monetary value of this world. Chase that.
Driving their fast cars around Kensington.
Driving their fast cars. Yeah, there's a lot of Arabs that come around here. Again, but if I look at an Arab done outside Knightsbridge, so then let's talk about up in a Ferrari or Maybach or whatnot, and he's wearing gold or he's with women now. I'm not just going to say, oh, well, he's a bad Muslim. I don't really care. That's it. I'm not going to be questioned like him in a grave. I've got my own things to be questioned. I'm going to be held accountable. But am I going to see him as a direct manifestation or representation of Islam? No, unless he follows and adheres to the path of the Quran and Sunnah at the end of the day. Again, some of the people that's drawn me to Islam are some of the videos I've watched online, but they don't have 500,000 views or 1 million views. Some of them have like 2,000 to 3,000 views. But
or like Ali Dawah.
No, it's not Ali Dawah. But he's still my brother in Islam. He's still my brother in Islam at the end of the day. So may Allah reward his efforts and he's trying to make his heart clean and whatnot. But I know there's people like
but we're saying because you're saying
there's a scholar Bin Baz who there was a video you can watch on YouTube where he's being praised just before he's about to give a lecture and talk. The host like literally like a long list of praises for this guy, and as soon as he steps onto the stage he's like, I am not worthy of no praise. A wise man knows nothing at all. Bin Baz is one of the most famous scholars in the past 150 years. So check him out.
So he's humble.
It's
always good to see humble people.
Yeah, what makes me want to stay firm in Islam is the humility and the outward actions of somebody. Your ikhlaq, your
you don't have to be a Muslim to recognise that as well.
Exactly, you don't have to be a Muslim to recognise that.
I was looking at Elvis Presley video the other day, and you know, he was surprisingly humble, because a lot of pop stars now, they're all like about the arrogance,
big ass chains and cars and I mean, to be honest, if you're trying to preach, for example, let's say a Muslim speaker is trying to preach to me and trying to tell me to do good and encourage me to do good, I'm going to still do it for my own cause anyway, not because he or she has said that to me. But I would feel more inspired and more motivated to do so if I look at them or her in a way where what you're preaching is what you're practicing, and your humbled and outward actions are like, you know, they make me feel like I need to fix up on that. They're beautiful type people, both in and out at the end of the day. But there are a lot of people, Muslim speakers that we've seen, they're like personalities, and they like to water down, saturate the deen in a way. In terms of, let's say, there's some dawah brothers out there that give out dawah, but they give it out in such a way where they're talking down to you, or they're talking to you in a way that's patronising, and that's not good. It's not good at all, you know. So yeah, humility and sincerity. These are big things.
And so
These are things to melt the heart, man.
you don't have to be a Muslim to recognise humility and humbleness.
What's your name? I didn't catch your name. Steve, man. Liban, man.
Was it
Liban.
Liban.
Oh, thank you, man.
Isa.
Issa, I don't know.
I'm trying to cut my hairstyle now. My head. Is it good though? Can't let it.
It's good talk. I said, do you know what? I mean, it would be nice if Tommy could do and just come down and talk to
Yeah, just on the ground, brother.
And-
Like, the way you stand.
He's got nothing to fear. I ain't gonna lie to you. He's got nothing.
Do you know what?
He can come here, pull up. He can pull up.
Yeah, but what he's got to do, I think, for him to do that, he's got to kind of.
He's got too much ego.
He's got to spend a year or two just being on the right side of things now. I think he's cleaned up a little bit. He's got away from that kind of dark side a little bit. But I think he needs to, show that he can have a good discourse, and be polite with people and not get into fights. There's a lot of fights, a bit of violence as well sometimes. And if you can avoid that, come down here and just humbly have a talk, not get too excited. Because this is a very knowledgeable guy. He's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, give us like 3 minutes. Yeah, because I'm trying to scoot it. No, what it is with
So what's the point?
if he's about this whole defaming my Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and again that's an attack on my identity and me as a person. Do you know? So again, that's not the right kind of discourse that should be happening. But if he wants to come and talk about some concerns that he has, again, he has access to people that he can speak to about Islam or whatnot. He knows. Majority of Islam, we have.
You get in touch with Ali Dawah.
Yeah, but him and Ali Dawah.
I don't think he does have good access to Islam, to be honest.
No?
But
if he wanted to,
the thing is,
he can talk to people.
listen, a lot of Muslims have got their screws loose. So I don't think an arena like this would be the best, most conducive one for him.
Yeah, but
He could be in danger.
A lot of people.
Because look, like I said to the brothers, like 2018 for me has been a firefighting activity in terms of like da'wah and Islamic PR. Like I've had to. There's been times where I've felt like losing my rag, but I've had to hold myself because everyone just thinks that we're one-dimensional. We can't really back up our theological debates, and then we get angry and then we start a fight. It's just like, it's not done any good. These big schools, they never used to be like this. I can show you like
I've come for a long time.
Yeah.
I've come for
A lot of
25
great
years or
speakers
so.
don't come in no more. You know when I used to watch these videos back in the day, it wasn't really a lot of the Muslim videos. It's more like people like Ismail Blagrove that used to come here. The white brother,
I don't want to reveal my
Haikal.
excellent guy. And I'll learn from these guys. Yeah, not from a religious standpoint, but from an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint. 10 out of 10 brothers, Ismail Blagrove did a 10 out of 10 speech when he sticks it on the Sky News presenters straight after the whole Grenfell thing, and that was one of the best speeches I've ever heard in the 21st century.
Because he had a big fight with somebody, didn't he? He had a big
I think he did. I think he just stopped coming in, man. Yeah. But and then obviously
He lost his rag.
Yeah, he did.
Can you imagine that? What's his name? Hacker. What's his name? The communist guy.
Haikal.
Can you imagine if he loses his rag?
Good avoid these guys.
He's a communist.
He's not
communist. He talks a lot of the communists, pro-communists, like that kind of stuff.
The communist spiel,
Yeah, he does. Are you sure he's not a communist?
He
I'm
says
sure.
he's not.
I'm pretty certain.
You sure?
But
Yeah.
people say he is on the left side.
Yeah.
The left would say he's communist, and the right would probably say he's communist. But no, I think he just knows what the.
I thought he was more communist than the Labour leader.
Come on,
Corbyn.
Corbyn's the guy, bro. What are you talking about?
I like Corbyn.
I don't
for his
understand why
cycles.
people hate this
I like
dude so much, you know.
Corbyn's like,
He seems like the most stand-up politician that you guys
both
have.
from Labour or Conservative or Liberal. But he seems so genuine. He seems genuine.
He seems genuine,
but again, if he gets into power, I don't know what could happen.
The thing is, like, when he got into like leading the Labour Party, he changed his mind on the EU because originally he wanted to leave, and then suddenly he's like, oh, I want to remain. We'll have another vote. It's like, hang on, who's talked to you? You're not thinking for yourself now. Somebody's telling you how to think. And a lot of these leaders, they're all bloody lawyers. The leaders of these parties love lawyers, so they know the spiel.
They know how to talk.
They're good.
They basically promise you everything.
What do you think of Donald Trump? What do you think of Trump?
I really don't have. I don't have an opinion. Like, not that I
You're
don't
not
have an
that
opinion.
bothered.
Yeah,
Some people are really bothered.
He's not affecting me right now.
I
And
don't
I
know,
think
I
when
mean-
it does start affecting me, then I'll probably pay attention. But I think he's a donut. But no, I think do you know what? In all honesty, I think he's an opportunist.
Right? Yeah.
And Right now, he seems to be like spitting out the racist spiel to a lot of people. That's what it seems.
What's he saying? That's racist.
No, it's all keeping out the Muslims, keep building a wall.
That's not really. Islam's. It's not.
I know it's not
racist,
a race, but it's slightly associated. Talking about the people of Charlottesville that did the riot as being good people on both sides. That's racist nonsense. Talking about the people that went out, and had
food and all these things, I did.
Don't know.
She's had a lot to drink.
Yeah. 1 2 million. Get home safe.
Talking about the Charlottesville people who did the riots. Basically, they were blatantly race-based riots. They were, For me, for him not speaking out about that clearly shows some sort of maybe not even like him saying him acknowledging it, but maybe it's an attempt to downplay the effect of it. I feel like as a president, commander in chief, he should have been, his comment against it should have been a lot clearer and a lot more. He should have drawn the lines. That's I believe.
It could be, yeah.
But I believe he's an opportunist. So I believe that the people who have the lobby in America, the corporations that have the most money, is who he's playing into the hands of. And had it been black people, he would follow the black narrative. And had it been Asian people, so on and so forth. He just wants to get into power. I just think he's an opportunist.
I'm not sure. I think he's cleverer than people giving credit for. I think he's definitely got business now. So he seems to have got unemployment down. He seems to have got the unemployment down in America. So
I watch the cameras though.
Yeah, watch the camera, guys.
One quick question,
I was raised in Christianity.
Tell them about the party around here.
You got out of it. I did.
Irish and the flags is all the same.
Oh my days.
Because I was raised as a Christian.
It's in the Quran.
Yeah.
It says, follow the forefathers and the forefathers before them, blindly, without no knowledge. You know what that means? Basically means like me, or I don't want to offend you on this, but let's say me. My mum was Christian, my dad was like a priest. Now, I was a Christian, and I was following it blindly. I didn't have no knowledge of it, but I'm
You
saying
didn't find it for yourself. You didn't go out and be like, for yourself. Then you went into a different, and then you went into a different type of light and said, oh yeah.
See that, Paddy?
Boom. So you didn't research about Islam?
Before you got into
them
paddies, bro. So 2 different conversations happening.
What do you think have been the highlights in Speaker's Corner for 2018?
Tan.
So many things.
Definitely
That was more like a low light for me, but
yeah, it was interesting. He's just rooting it. It's crazy.
what exactly do you think was Tan's appeal to
The guys,
He's very
Chinese.
aggressive. He spoke very aggressive.
He spoke on behalf of people.
Even me, he was aggressive to me once or twice, like in private. And that. So I saw that side to him. But he could be quite funny. He's quite intelligent.
Do you feel like Muslims gave him like red kryptonite?
Yeah. Always starts
What do you mean by that?
You know, did they power him along? Did they give him more fuel than? Or do you think he would have been as
Maybe,
as
but
effective without the?
I think as well, sometimes some of the Muslims need to be challenged because too many of them are quick to anger. Too many of them are quick to be violent.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, they just fuel Tan. They fuel him. It's like Eminem. If you give him that energy,
Yeah,
you
he's
fuel
gonna come
it.
back and
That's
make
right.
it.
Tan's a clever guy, you know. And that's his nectar, isn't it? That's like his honey. That fuels him.
I did try to have a conversation with him once, like away from cameras. That was the first time he was here, and I realised, for me, I felt like he didn't have any substance. So I decided that was the last time I was going to ever take him on an intellectual type basis, and I left him from then on. And I kept trying to tell Muslims stop entertaining him, but I guess some people felt they knew better, and then they would go and talk to him and then get themselves riled up, and then.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the last 5 years I've watched Muslims here almost acting like a hive mentality.
Yeah.
Where they've had Christian girls and people have been assaulted by Muslim people as well. So it has been quite nasty here, you know. I'm quite honest with you. You know, you may not like it, but
There has been
so
a lot of things, maybe not a lot. But
you know, I mean, Tan coming on, he probably saw some of it, and it was just fuel for him. So it's just kind of like I don't want to say exploded, but it's kind of done that a bit this
Still
year.
waiting for someone to
It was
tell me
waiting to go because
I've heard
there's been a lot of intimidation from Muslims, especially for the last 5 years here. So.
I've heard like,
I don't know if I'd go as far as back as 5 years, but quite clearly you can see the caliber of people it is, because Mansour has been coming here for however many years. The brother Hashem's been coming here for however many years.
How long's Ali been coming here for, Ali Dawah?
Ali Dawah's been coming here quite recently, so I
Do you
would
know
say
what?
the last
I remember
5 years.
I remember him from like 2005, something like that. I remember from that time ago, like when he was young, boy. He was like young, innit?
Yeah.
I remember
quite
you, Ali.
I only quite recently come into him, but those brothers there, Abu Yassin, he passed away as well. May Allah give him mercy. Brothers like Hamza Kashmiri, Isa, those same brothers were here and they never ever really got him. Like they got involved. Their thing was da'wah. That was it.
Yeah, their
Getting on the
thing is
soapbox,
more academic and talk
right.
and knowledge, not just physical violence,
Right.
intimidation, gangsterism. Yeah.
That's it.
And there's been a lot of it here for a
It
while
has,
now.
and I think a part of it is the cameras.
No, this was before the cameras. This is why the cameras started up, because there was one guy, Ali over there, he was the first one to start bringing the cameras. You know, he wears the little Union Jack hat and all that stuff.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
a funny guy, isn't he? He's over there. He was the first one I remember bringing cameras here. But then the cameras really took off, I think, the last 3 years. But there was a lot of violence before that, this hard mentality.
Really?
Muslims. I remember talking about Boko Haram some years ago, and then like some Muslims talking to this girl about it, and she didn't really like my arguments, and I was just talking like I'm to you, because that's how I talk, you know. I'm not like Tan or something, I'm not confrontation like that. And she's kind of like, you're very clever, and she wasn't quite liking what I was saying, but she said the girls weren't suffering. I said, well, they clearly are, they've been abducted, you know. But there were some Muslim guys behind me, and there's a bit of push and shove, and it's like, do you want us to sort him out? Do you want us to sort him out? It's like, man, we're having a nice debate, you don't need to be pushing me and intimidating me.
Come on!
And as Muslims following a religion, they shouldn't have been acting like that towards me. So there were many things happening. So I wasn't surprised when Tommy came down here this year, because it had just been building up.
you're telling me,
You know, so
Yeah. How did you feel about the Tommy?
Do you know, to be fair, I was quite happy. I was quite happy because, as I said, there'd been quite a lot of violence and quite a lot of attacks, even towards black people here as well. And a lot of people, non-Muslims of all denominations, Christian, non-Christian, atheists, all had their complaints against how Muslims were behaving here. So to be fair, many of them, even Christians, were quite happy to see Tommy here and stuff like that. They were quite happy because they thought this has just been building up. So when his lot came down, many of them were, I dare say, cheering for him.
What about the Christians?
And you may not like that. Sorry, say again?
What about the Christians or non-Muslims who felt afraid?
I don't believe in Christians.
What about the Christians or non-Muslims who felt afraid of the mob that was with Tommy?
The Christians and non-Muslims?
Yeah.
Well, when I was here down there that day, and I'm quite nimble, so I was jumping over fences and stuff, getting around. And so I saw quite a bit. But what I did see was, you got a Mohammed hijab there, right? Not so much him doing violence, but he was certainly part of a group to stay strong. We're going to fight for this one. They weren't, they weren't like shirking violence, saying let's stand over here and show peace and love and pull out the flowers. They were like, be ready for it. I've got my gum shield. It's like, you know, and they were there, and like Omar, he had his walking cane, and one of the police got hit as well. And when I came in twice because I jumped over the fence and came back round again. And as soon as I came in, you know, and I'm not violent coming for violence, so I come in to talk. But there was some violence, and people were looking in my eyes saying, is he part of it? We'll give him and then somebody behind me got kicked and pushed like that, and he's like, oi! And the people who were around me weren't causing violence, but they were getting violence from there's a smaller group of Muslims than the Tommy supporters were.
Well, what about the ginger guy that was caught on camera about 4 times trying to smack different people? That was from Tommy's mob.
Yeah, I'm sure that there were people like that. I'm sure that there would. But not everyone is. But certainly the Muslims, as a religious group, I don't know, it doesn't look good that they're standing there like, we'll show them, we're wrestlers, man, and we're going to do this. I don't think you get Christians doing that.
Do you think we should have just backed up then and just walked away?
No, you're going to do your thing. It depends on the ideology you follow and kind of...
Because I'm saying, for example, people like Uncle Asif, who's a Christian Indian man.
But there were things going off, which was, as I said, the policeman got hit, and I got people pushed into me and stuff like that, and It was, and I got snowballed. Some guy threw a snowball in my head when I left.
100?
You know, and they waited for me as I was leaving. So I did get some bit of violence, and I wasn't causing violence for anyone. I just said, but they didn't like the fact that I was talking to Tan, talking to other people. I was talking to Muslims too, but they didn't like it the fact that I could even be challenging their power, Muslim power. And
so how do you think, as Muslims, as reasonable ones, trying to denounce ourselves from the unreasonable ones, how do we go about doing that?
He came back and he was like, psych.
I think you've got to call them out.
Been there.
I mean, I was in a protest years ago, and there were some guys, you know, and they were throwing things at the police, and they had flames around their faces,
What do you do though?
and they had some sticks, and they were like, you know, they were throwing things at the police, and the people at the front and children were in there too, and they were getting pushed with shields, and kids were crying, women were, and they wouldn't let anyone go. They were all being kettled in. And I said, everybody, and these ones behind the back, they were like, yeah, see that big, look at that big police officer, take that smile off his face. And they were throwing things at the police. And these hoodlums at the back, all their faces covered. And I said, everybody sit down, everybody sit down. And this woman said, yeah, he's right. We all sat down. Do you know what happened? Everybody who was decent sat down, and the thugs at the back were all standing. When all the thugs at the back were all standing, the only one standing were the police, who didn't mind hurting people a bit, and the thugs, who loved hurting people. And it was just like, oh shit, we're sitting down. The police could just walk in and arrest them. They're like, shit, what do we do? And it was then that was done. Just from sitting down. One person said sit down, everyone sit down, and this big protest was ended. That was me. Thanks, guys. You know, it's just one little thing. One person changed everything. One idea changed everything. And that's power. So maybe if you call them out, most of these Tommy Robinson people, they're not coming up to you and go, you're a Muslim, I'm going to bash you up. If you're in certain areas, they might, but they weren't coming down there with that mentality. So the thing is,
it depends on it depends like who was on the receiving end, didn't it? Some people might not have the same rosy story.
Yeah, but the Muslims who were here, not all of them, of course, but some of them were here, and they were definitely looking for. They came down, they were looking for trouble.
Yeah.
They were definitely looking for it. So what you got to do? Sometimes you have to just push yourself apart, have your own little group, and say, look, we're not after trouble. Let's debate. That's it. That's it. It's so simple. I mean, and if that depends, if that's what Islam's about. Because I know I've read in the Quran, I've read a bit of the Quran about the best part of half of it. So I know there's a part in it that says, you know, I know you don't like fighting. You know, you must fight for Islam, fight for Allah. I know you don't like fighting, but there are things that you enjoy which are bad for you, and things that you don't like which are good for you. Allah knows what's best for you, and that's in the Quran, isn't it? I've read that in there, you know, and so it depends who's calling, who's the one with the leadership who's saying this is the time to fight now. So it all depends who's the one interpreting when's the point to fight and how you fight. You know, so. Just depends. That's a fair point. It's a fair point, isn't it? You know. But on that day, the Tommy people, majority, not all of them, of course, because you can't speak up for who the hell's in there. Do you know what I mean? But most of them, it wasn't a huge problem that day anyway. There was no real people massacred today, except for the policeman hit around the head.
But there was a guy who was punched in a sucker punch.
Yeah, in the face. I think mixed race guy, innit? Yeah. Right in the face.
But sometimes you just got to keep your distance a bit from the troubles and stuff as well. But you know, as I said, there's been stuff building up, and as I said in Smooth's Corner, the Muslims they haven't been on their best behaviour for a long time. And I'm just going to be honest about that.
Again, like I said, Islam and the Prophet was free from their actions at the end of the day. Again, a lot of the laymen are not really perfect at the end of the day. You know, some suffer from things, some are just naughty kids, innit? Really, just don't know how to behave, lack of etiquette, innit? So, and I got people itching for a fight at the time. So they thought, you know, Tom Robinson's fan, him and his fanboys, you know.
I mean, some people like fighting.
Yeah, some people like fighting.
Yeah. So if you're going to fight, at least with football hooligans, if you're going to fight other hooligans, then you're only hurting the people who enjoy it. Don't hurt people who don't want to get involved in it. You know? Of course. I mean, that's how it should be. And it's Speaker's Corner, so we should try. We should be avoiding violence.
It's not the place to have a fight. It's not the place. No, not at all. Not at all, man.
Saying another thing, independent of each other, but what they're saying directly contradicts.
Yeah.
So then it's like at some point then.
But is there no good way to differ? Like you can agree to disagree, right?
Come near the mic, innit?
What my team, what the great thing is, I'm not even the guy that will come out and start. Because I believe that everyone needs to go through their path. But I'm saying that with religion.
They shouldn't want to hot up their name on camera.
Unknown, yeah? Be cautious.
Well, people might disagree that it all comes from the same.
As if to say that one of them could be right and all the rest of them is wrong, yeah?
Yeah, but is it in the realm of possibility There could be
Shall I
one
tell you
that's
what's
right.
even more possible?
Speak on the camera. Speak on the
Shall I tell you
mic.
what's even more possible?
What's that?
Shall I tell you what's even more possible?
What, that they're all
Tell you
wrong?
what's even more probable? Yeah, not even so simply say that they're all wrong, but that they're all inaccurate. Yeah, you know, like that. That's what's more probable than
Do you
saying
mean in
that
terms of
there's
religion
one
and stuff?
that's definitely on point and that all the rest are missing the point.
Okay.
Like, long story short,
So,
he's trying to cut it
yeah.
down. Yeah.
So do you believe in the Most High? Like outside
I
of all
believe
the
in the
hassle
Most High. I believe in it, but I take it from a more spiritual
Right.
sort of perspective. You understand me?
But I'm,
But
yeah, but
one thing, one thing I know is that religion. Yeah, I know. Bro, it just creates division between man. That's one thing I know. It's another form of division.
yeah, but I'm
man,
no, the most, you see the Most High.
man is pampered with the thing.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Man, come out there represented and ready to go and die for it.
Just a free thinker. Free thinker. Just a
Human being.
free thinker.
I always say it.
I don't believe in anything.
But do you believe that the Most
But
High
I,
would
you
leave
know,
man
I
in a
personal,
situation
my personal,
where
I have a
there's a
concept
whole load
of
of
great
confusion
spirit.
and pass on
and
without
energy,
showing man
you know,
or
so-
giving man a criteria to find out what the real thing is?
I don't really know about that.
Regardless
it's
of
my,
whether it's
yeah,
Islam, whether it's
it's my own
spirituality.
what I've experienced.
My
My
belief is that
experience
the
is
Most
how I
High
make
is
my
going
mind
to show
up.
man and give
Not
man
so much, not so much in
a
books and stuff, just my
criteria
experience.
and how to
Even
ascertain
in
whether
dreams stuff.
it's right or wrong.
I mean, like it's just kind of.
So you want to show your face, but not
Most High, obviously we get like some people think that we all got left behind and that, or that we all damn dead.
What, as in black people? No, in general. Okay.
on the Islamic side.
No, look, this is the line. This is the line.
Hey, no lie. You can cross over, sister. Don't worry.
Inshallah.
You're gonna come.
You can come to the other side.
You come to the dark side. Yeah. No, but listen, it's all for man to look at what the models are out there saying these are the religions of God, and then to go through it and then and critique it and say, right, this I believe is the thing, and this I believe is not, based on the best of your ability in the criteria of the model of good and bad that you've been taught. That's all you can do is use your human faculties to the best of your ability and reach and go.
For me, the fact that we're all living and breathing here, for me that's just living proof that to me, that is enough of a gift. I don't think that we need to be able to go. I'm not saying I don't believe in heaven or
But you're saying life
I
in
can never
itself.
simplify it like that. So I'm not speaking from my personal opinion.
Like in the mountains, like in the
I'm
mountains.
saying whatever it is that people are searching for, they need only to look right in front of them. Do you understand?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I hear what you're saying.
When I need to read a book here, that even though I was born a Christian, even though I got rebaptized as a teenager, but now I'm like, well, 30 now, it's not my life. Check it. When I need to read a book here, King James. That's another man. That's another man, yeah. Who's taking whatever reason I'm taking in his time, read it to us. So just good for me coming up to you now, yeah, based off my own knowledge and putting down my own version. Publishing that, putting that out. I can't limit myself to any religion.
Good for you. But I do find the insights are quite good. In the kids, if you take it easy.
But is that as a result of looking into each
before,
of
that's
the
what I said.
systems, or is it as just a general?
That's why
To me, and that's the thing, what I said, that's the greatest thing you can do with religion, is I think it's to allow the passer, allow the politics, yeah. Don't try and make your religion more supreme to another guy's. Just take in your own principles, live the best you can. And if the book can teach you that, because obviously it's not like I don't read scriptures from time to time. I'm just trying to say I can't limit myself to the idea that I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim. Come on, man. Like really? I'm thinking, right, 2019, yeah, that's what people are really still. It's still as simple as that. You might as well just go colour coded.
It's like which football team you play for?
You understand?
What's your team, man?
No, but the thing is,
I only come here just to see like how people are still carrying on. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Do you not come down here regularly? Just
I was last year. I took a little while, but I've come back. It's my first time in a little while.
it's good to take a break sometimes.
3 months, yeah.
see me, yeah. I
Especially
believe,
when
I believe, I'm a
Missed all of that. I saw it.
It's exciting.
So I'm Muslim. So I believe, I genuinely believe, yeah, that everything that is in between the two covers of the Quran, yeah, is truth. It's truth and it's universal truth. It's true to me. It's true to you. It's true to everyone.
And
that's
I
my.
like that word universal because then I can start to understand more. You understand?
So for me, it's everything within it, that everything it enjoys upon humans and mankind is good. And because of my love of good for myself and for other people, I have to impart that on them. Yeah? So I've always said to people there is a supremacist aspect of Islam, yeah? But it's not by way of just saying you're a Muslim, so you're better. That's not what it is. It's by saying this is the truth that is in this matter here. So follow the truth rather than falsehood. Right? And that's what I call personally. That's what I'm trying to call my man. So when I'm calling, like, it's not a looking down on you thing. Like, that's not.
No, never. And I'm never a man who would even, me personally, I would never even ever decipher it as that. I've got, like, my brethren, most of them are following the faith, you understand? And it's just me, I've just kind of gone off on my own sort of path. But it's not like I denounce, because there's been times when, and tell me if this is wrong, there's been times when I've prayed with my Muslim brothers, but just partaken and humbled myself, you understand? And
I think that's a sick thing still.
Yeah, man, 'cause at the end of the day, it's the energy that's really what I care about the most. I can understand. Get me? And I feel like life, man, it's become so blurred on what we all should be really striving for.
Yeah.
So I'm just a man who, you get me, take it as it comes and just do my best on par. I was going to church, I was following the Christian faith, and I felt like I saw hypocrisies, but not more or less from the teachers, but from the people.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to limit myself to, even if them, see, this is, so I can say this, even if I followed the Muslim faith, you wouldn't see me at mosque every week. Same way that when I was following Christian faith, you wouldn't see me at church every week. Because I don't believe that I need to go to a building, run by a bunch of us lot to feel like I need to be able to like devote myself to that. But that's just me, man. Maybe that's my, I don't know, my independent thinking type thing. But I just don't really mess with the whole follow
the
fashion,
whole congregation
type thing.
Sounds logical to me.
So you have to take it, you know.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah.
9 minutes left. I don't know.
9 minutes left.
We're gonna wrap this shit up.
What is it? What, first speaker's corner of 2019, you know? Yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody!
Yeah, man.
Another year.
What to say to the people, man? Yeah, just this year, hopefully, will not be firefighting bad anti-da'wah of the Muslim people here in this park. Hopefully you're going to see a better image of Muslims, a better standard of conversation as well, not only limited to Islam, but a better social, even economic talking, where we get like Raven said, the Premier League, rather than like we're just reducing ourselves to like same old arguments that we go in. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, how do you find like you get on with Raj? How do you find Raj?
Raj is I probably got slapped for it, but Raj is cool. Whenever he sees me, he's cool and respectful to me. Like, he always greets me and stuff, and he's cool. Always says, I don't want trouble with you. Like, so I'm cool with Raj. I know he trolls people, but again, sometimes I think Raj is one of those people who takes fuel from people. Like,
yes.
he trolls people he knows he can troll. So, you know, just don't feed the troll, innit? And Raj will be cool with me, to be honest, man. I know he had some issues which were close to him about the Islamic grooming thing, and again, my message was the message that I was trying to give out was this: when it comes to the grooming thing, it's quite clear to see the demographic and the people that are behind it. Yeah, and I say this, yeah, with all due respect to my Asian brothers, yeah, and my white counterparts, but the groomers don't look like me. Yeah, so there's got to be something other than Islam.
What are you referring?
I'm just saying, generally, I believe
racial thing.
Yeah, so I
really.
Yeah, it's a look. From what I've seen, yeah, it's white individuals and it's Asian individuals, and the people that they prey on are vulnerable people, right? There's not so more. The victims and perpetrators more so don't look like me. Like the perpetrators of the grooming crimes mostly don't look like me, because I believe that girls in the African community and the Caribbean community have brothers and family that are more protective of them, so therefore they are less vulnerable and susceptible to grooming. But that's not to say they're not susceptible to other things like promiscuity and other such things. But whereas when you find that a lot of these girls that were involved in the grooming thing, there were girls that what it seems like is the society's thrown them away, like Darren said before. They don't really have, their families don't really know where they're at, whatever. But that wasn't important anyway. I just wanted to highlight that. And I get that was one of Raj's grievances. It may have skewed his position on Islam. Yeah. Shamsi's managed to remove a lot of those prejudices that he had.
You don't think there's any kind of like Islamic or Quranic kind of link?
I think
to how they've.
I don't believe so, but if there is,
could there be?
If there is, it's been
the way
greatly,
they've interpreted.
It's been greatly skewed to fit an agenda, because for me, my Islamic school of thought says it's not even permissible to communicate without a need, like to even just a flirt or unnecessarily with the other sex that's not related, like to just even have that interaction, is only on the basis of need. So even holding a girl's hand that's not related to me would be sinful for me, let alone grooming her, giving her alcohol, which is not Islamically permissible as well, and then sleeping with her or raping her. That's just, for me, it's outside, even outside of the whole religious thing, it's just distasteful and disgusting. Like it's just like, it's AFC syndrome. AFC, I just learned this word from my friend. Average frustrated chump syndrome. These people, for one reason or another, are frustrated with their own lives or the stagnation of their own lives, and they feel like they're allowed to go forward and destroy.
As Muslims, then, why aren't they fulfilled? That they've resorted. I mean, even
I don't. To be honest, I don't believe. I truly don't believe that most of them are Muslim by that. They're Muslim because their parents were Muslim. Most of them. That's what I believe. They're culturally Muslim. So because my father was an imam in Pakistan or wherever, I'm a Muslim. But if you asked such a person about their creed, what they actually believe, does it coincide with what Islam actually says? I think you'll find that many of them are off the scale. Like
sure. Because there's something I heard. I mean, like, I know you're saying it seems to be a Pakistani cultural thing. Then, like.
Asian. I wouldn't just restrict it to Pakistan. I'd say Bengalis are involved in it. Indians are involved in it at a small, and sometimes even some Arabs are involved in it here and there. And this is something that I've spoken to my Asian brothers about, and they've said to me the culture permits it.
I mean, it seems to be a lot in, I don't know, but it seems to be a lot in the Muslim cultures where they seem to marry young girls, very young, very, very young, they marry them. Around the world, different countries.
I've heard it, but as for actually practically seeing it, I haven't, to be honest. It's a difficult thing for me to comment on. Personally, I don't advocate for marrying girls at a younger age, and I wouldn't do it. It's not something that I would give my daughter to personally. But I don't know what people do in other countries and like whether their customs allow it or not. But again, I feel like some of these countries pick up things that benefit them, and maybe they might try and justify it Islamically, but I don't believe the intention is there. Like they're following some sort of Quranic injunction. It's just something that they like, and they try to justify it somehow.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. But you definitely agree that they were. So you definitely agree there was a racial heritage thing going on there with these guys who were abusing these young girls.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was there was probably I think it was probably more of a cultural thing of we can't, even though they have done it to Asian girls and other girls of other races, but we can't do it to our own because we hold them to a high standard. Well, we'll take white girls because we don't really value the young white Caucasian girl. So whatever we do to her, who cares? She gets what she deserves type thing. And yeah, there does seem to be this, I don't know, like this fascination for white Caucasian girls amongst them.
They're popular. I think they were popular with the Berbers and all that when they used to come with their pirate ships. Couple hundred years ago.
You know better than I do.
Yeah.
I got
Crazy
no idea.
stuff, crazy
but,
stuff, yeah. It's good to talk, isn't it? Good to talk. Is that still rolling, is it, or is it finished?
No, I think 9 minutes is over now.
Yeah, that's good to talk. It'd be interesting to see Tommy here again, but it'd be nice if we could just stop and talk to people.
Do you know what? If we could have a nice conversation just here, like
it would be, yeah.
He might have to hire some security or something.
I mean, some of the Tommy supporters, some of them are quite intellectual, and some of them you can have good.
That's the thing, though. It's a shame when I see intellectual speakers, but like overshadowed by mob mentality. It would be ideal to try and talk and deconstruct what your actual issues are, rather than.
Like, I just think it's
You're saying, but I got the Cuban links out here, yeah?
I just
Yeah, you're not allowed to wear gold, innit? Yeah, it's 12 o'clock.
I'm gone.
You can't wear gold.
Nah, only the women can wear gold.
What's the talk?
Nice to talk, Steve. Yeah.
Steve, nice to meet you, man. You take care. You too, my brother. You too, man. You too.
Shake your hand, Ali Dawa. Take care, mate. See you later. I normally do spots, but take care.
Contemplate from your humanity.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen.
Man, don't listen to BBC. Sit down, yeah? Alright, cool, yo. Yeah, quick 30 second thing, yeah? Okay, cool. The license thing. Yeah, quick thing. Just want to quickly talk about an initiative me and a couple of brothers have started in this park. The organisation is named Hood. Again, there's some misconceptions. Some brothers seem to think it's rivaling gang or it has something to do with gang. No, it's not.
Gang and Hood.
Yeah, gang and Hood. We're not in competition with one another. What it is, Hood is an initiative. It's